Hello and welcome to the Intentional Brief, your weekly video update on the one big thing in cybersecurity news for middle market companies, their investors, and executive teams. I'm your host, Shay Colson, managing partner at Intentional Cybersecurity, and you can find us online at intentionalcyber.com. Today is Monday, May 19th, 2025, and we've got some good details on threats that we're all probably kind of notionally aware of, but maybe not actively managing, and it is time to get active. We are talking about insider threats, yes, again, but this time with more detail on both the activities of North Korean hackers and the risk that outsourced or offshored support services can pose, because both of these have been in the news in the past week. The first threat here from North Korea is receiving some renewed attention due to two recent publications. The first is a joint notice from the U.S. Department of Treasury, Department of State, and the FBI warning of these attacks. And if for some reason this has not crossed your radar yet, there's a good summary of what the threat is and how they work at the top of the document. Essentially, North Korean hackers are getting remote jobs at U.S. tech companies, routing their connections through laptop farms here in the continental United States, and then returning both their salaries and their access to the goals of the DPRK, namely building nuclear weapons and supporting a lavish lifestyle for the leadership. It's not so much the salaries here that we're worried about, although that's admittedly not great. It's that legitimate insider access that these folks are now holding. There were some great pointers in this notice, this joint notice with red flags on what to look out for, and this was a top conversation topic at the recent RSA conference in San Francisco. If you have not seen it, there was a great discussion from the leadership team at SentinelOne about how now security vendors themselves are being specifically targeted by these nation-state actors from North Korea to try and gain access not only to those systems to better understand how they work, but also to then play forward that access into their customer base. So this is a great chance to get with your HR folks and make sure that you've got a handle on how you're vetting new employees, particularly remote ones, and ensuring that you're not either supporting this sanctioned regime in North Korea or giving up legitimate credentials and access to these very sophisticated threat actors who, with the pairing of AI, are only getting more sophisticated at a rapid rate. So we need to be aware of this. Speaking of giving up access, we've got a bit of a twist here on the second threat coming out of news last week that Coinbase has seen a breach stemming from their outsourced customer support teams overseas. As a publicly traded company, they have, of course, filed their 8K with the SEC. They note that Coinbase got a ransom note from the attacker demanding $20 million. The filing says that, quote, the threat actor appears to have obtained this information by paying multiple contractors or employees working in support roles outside the United States to collect internal information from Coinbase systems to which they had access in order to perform their job responsibilities. Excuse me. The 8K filing, which I think gets a lot of credit for being more robust than most, goes on to say that, quote, the incident did not involve the compromise of passwords or private keys, and at no time were any of the targeted contractors or employees able to access customer funds. While the company is still investigating the affected data, it included name, address, phone, and email, masked social security number, masked bank account number, and some bank account identifiers, government ID images, e.g. driver's license, passport, account data, balance snapshots, and transaction history, and limited corporate data, including documents, training material, and communications available to support agents, unquote. But here's the twist. Instead of paying the ransom, Coinbase is owning this event. Clearly, from their 8K filing, they're doing more than most. And they have noted that not only will they not pay the ransom, but they intend to offer their own $20 million bounty to get information on these hackers, and that they intend to reimburse users for lost crypto assets out of their own pockets at a cost of between $180 and $400 million. I'm sure that having high-profile customers like Sequoia Capital, partner Wolof Botha drew an extra set of eyes to this event, but Coinbase said they will now be opening a US-based support hub and will strengthen their security defenses as a result of this event. Now, of course, not all companies have pockets as deep as Coinbase, but in a world where we see companies working hard to even obfuscate the fact that attacks have happened, seeing Coinbase own these events in their 8K filing, make proactive changes, and shell out for impacted customers' impacts directly, and also work to take the hackers off the board for all of the other potential future victims is a refreshing change, to say the least. So I don't know if this will motivate others to take these types of actions, but certainly is not what we normally see in response to a cyber incident. So for you and I who aren't putting up $20 million bounties or sitting on $8 billion in cash on our balance sheet like Coinbase, we should focus on these areas where others might have access to our sensitive data, our sensitive systems. This includes remote employees, this includes offshore support. Those are prime targets for these type of attacks, and having strong internal controls in place is one of the ways we can manage that risk down to a place where we can live with the risk that they pose and not take on too much friction to get the actual work done. Finding that balance is really the art of all of this. From a fundraising perspective, we had a quiet week last week, as we mentioned, but have more than made up for that with this week's almost $32 billion in newly committed capital, including lots of multi-billion-dollar fund announcements, like the folks from Pemberton, who raised 8.4 billion euros for 3 direct lending funds, Kane Anderson, who raised 2.3 billion for their 3rd energy income fund, Northleaf Capital Partners putting up 2.6 billion for their 4th infrastructure-focused PE fund, Crestline Investors from Dallas raising 3.5 billion for their 4th direct lending fund, and Blue Owl Capital putting up 7 billion for their 3rd digital infrastructure fund. Congratulations to all of these teams. That is a lot of money, and we are definitely looking forward to seeing this capital get deployed. As a reminder, you can find links to all the articles we covered in the comment section below. You can find back issues and written transcripts of these videos at intentionalcyber.com, and we will see you next week for another edition of the Intentional Brief.